Hi, everyone, thanks for joining today's webinar. We're just going to give it one more minute to allow some additional people to join the webinar here. So we'll get started in 1 minute. All right. While we're waiting or during this final minute here, while they're still joining, if we could do a quick audio check for those that have already joined. As usual, if you've joined a webinar in the past, there is a questions panel. If you can just pop that open and just say yes, or I can hear you, or just anything that can indicate that you are hearing me as I speak. All right. Looks like I at least got one. There we go. All right, good. Sounds like my audio is coming through. And it also looks like that the attendees have started to slow down here. So I think we're going to go ahead and just get started with today's webinar. So first, thank you for joining today's webinar. We're really excited to talk about another new feature here at EZFacility. So again, really excited about that. I'm Michael Vidal, the Director of R&D. We also have Greg Barra, who's our Customer Experience Manager. So the two of us together will be going through the webinar, and we'll be talking about our latest feature for today. As a reminder, again, that same questions panel can be used to ask questions throughout the webinar. We'll do our best to answer all questions. For those questions that we cannot answer towards the end of the webinar, we will make sure that we get back to you after today's webinar via email or phone call if we need to. So again, we're really excited to talk about today's feature. We've been on a mission to continue introducing as many features as we can to possibly help each and every one of you. So for our agenda, we're going to talk very quickly about why did we make this change. We're going to learn a little bit about it. As mentioned, Greg's going to go through a quick demonstration of the Zoom integration, when it'll be available, and we'll do some Q&A, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's next and what's coming through the pipeline here. So really quickly, for as far again as why we did this change, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but as we've said before, we do really want to do more than just say that we're here to help you. We want to show you and kind of introduce as many new features as we can to continue to ensure that while your physical doors may be closed, your virtual doors are opening. So as they always say, when one door closes, another one opens. So we're doing our best to ensure that can be possible for you. So with this new integration, which is a Zoom integration, as we saw in the title there. So we've been pretty much working day and night to get this out the door as quickly as possible, and to really help you kind of keep that interaction with your customers. As a matter of fact, I was told recently on a call that we're not necessarily social distancing, we're more physical distancing than anything, and how people still want to be very social and they do want to continue interacting socially with each other. And I'm sure that your clients would love to do the same with you. For me personally, I haven't been able to see my parents, and same for my daughter, hasn't been able to see her grandparents in well over a month now. So when we do our video calls, it just really brightens up her day and couldn't make her any happier. So, and same for me. So I believe the same is for a lot of other people out there. And I think that we can help you make that possible with the new Zoom integration. So it's, more than just that kind of social interaction with Zoom is the ability to stream your classes live now, and your trainings, whether it be one-on-one or group classes, or maybe it's setting up a one-on-one call just to say hello with your client. So we believe that we can help you make that possible with this new integration. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Greg, our Customer Experience Manager, and he's going to go through a demo with you all today.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Mike. So let me just go ahead and make myself the presenter here. So I will show my screen. All right. Yeah, so as Mike was saying, I think this is going to be so beneficial for just having a sense of normalcy. You know, I'm one who you know, likes to go to the gym frequently, and just being able to have a live stream of a class that I'm so used to going to and seeing the same people or being able to interact with them in the class, I feel is so important. So we're really happy to be able to start rolling out a feature like this Zoom integration. So what you're seeing right now is the video library, and I kind of want to start there. So the video library is a great place to start this building of, you know, allowing Zoom to help you with live streaming classes. Because as you can see here, you know, you can use the video library. We have the hit training. We have a hit training reservation type with potentially a hit training preview. You know, maybe you want to create a 30-second, a minute, you know, preview video to let the maybe potential new people who are joining the class, or you know, allow them to see what's going on in this particular class, as well as potentially meeting the trainer as well before they start going through the class. So those are two options there that you have with the video library to help bridge the gap between, you know, maybe they can't obviously come into the facility to meet or see the facility, but this could give them an opportunity to learn a little bit more about your facility and the trainer to join, you know, that class. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to the administrative side to show you where to get started with this Zoom integration. So first and foremost, you need to have a Zoom account. So before you can use this functionality, you need to have a Zoom account. So there's two options for that. There's obviously a free version of Zoom and a paid version of Zoom. So the free version of Zoom, the biggest thing there is your meetings can be up to 40 minutes. So you can have meetings up to 40 minutes with the free version. With the paid version, there's two tiers. There is a pro and a business. So the pro allows you to have a meeting up to 24 hours and up to 100 people in that meeting. And then the business option is up over 100 people. So you have to determine what Zoom option is best for you and your organization. But once you get signed up with Zoom, then you would be able to integrate it directly with EZFacility. So to do that, you would go over to TMS here, and then we would go to administration. All right, and then when we scroll down here, you'll see that we have a new Zoom section. And when we click on the Zoom option, this is where you'd be able to authenticate your Zoom integration. So you'll see that I already authenticated mine, but what would happen is you would click on authenticate. It takes you directly to the Zoom website and where you're going to put in your credentials. It's super important that when you're doing that, to make sure that the owner of the Zoom account is putting in their credentials, because they have the most permissions of anyone who's created as a user in Zoom. So you want to make sure the owner is putting in their Zoom information, not necessarily maybe another user who might just be a trainer and doesn't necessarily have the ability to see all meetings for the Zoom account. So super important there. And then we have these two settings here. So require self-service login and require session booking. So if both of these settings are unselected, that basically means whenever you add a Zoom meeting to a reservation, anyone who logs onto your self-service account will be able to access that Zoom meeting. So basically there's no restrictions. They can just join however they like. Require self-service login could be a great option for you if maybe you are offering some free classes at the moment, but you at least want to get the client's information. So that means that they would have to at least log into self-service in order to view the or join the Zoom meeting. And then we have require session booking. So when both of these are selected, this is going to work just like it would to book into a class like you're used to, where the client would go on to self-service, select to book into a class, and they'd have to have the right package in order to do so. And it's going to deduct a session from their package once they are attended into that Zoom meeting. So it would work just like they're coming into the facility, but you know, they are obviously web streaming that wherever they can to be a part of that class. So how do you actually add the Zoom meeting to a reservation? So we would go to schedule. So we have the schedule here, and then we can just choose a class as we would. And what you're going to see here is we have the Zoom meeting option. So you would click on the checkbox there. That's going to create the Zoom meeting. And then you're going to choose, well, for which user is this Zoom meeting going to be for? So you'll see we have a list of options here. So really that easy. Just click the checkbox, hit save and finish. I'm going to cancel this for now because I have a few that are already created. And once it is created, if we go to this option here, all right, you'll see here that we have the ability to delete the Zoom meeting as well as start the Zoom meeting. So if I am the trainer here, I would hop into the schedule, click start Zoom meeting, and then I'll be able to go on my way. If I decide that, I want to delete the Zoom meeting, I'd be able to delete the Zoom meeting here. And you can also add a Zoom meeting to an existing reservation if you haven't already done so. So if I click on this option here, it's already created. There isn't a Zoom meeting created for this reservation here. And then we would click on create Zoom meeting, and it would create that meeting for you. So some other cool features here relates to how we alert the clients as to a meeting has been created or deleted or added. So if the reservation already has a Zoom meeting in the reservation, when a client books into that reservation, they'll receive an email as soon as they book into the class that allows them to get that Zoom meeting link. So they'll have that link at that point so that they'll know that it's available. Let's say you have a reservation that does not have a Zoom link already, and people have been booking into this class, and then you're like, you know what, I really want to add that Zoom link. When we go into the reservation and we click on create Zoom meeting, all of the clients who are already registered for that session will receive an email automatically and saying, hey, a Zoom meeting has been added to this reservation, and it'll give them the link. Also, if it's deleted, if the Zoom link is deleted from the reservation, they'll receive an email letting them know that, hey, the Zoom link has been deleted. And if you delete the reservation completely, it'll also alert the clients who are already booked into that class or a session that the reservation has been deleted there. All right. So the other really cool feature about this is when you book into a reservation, when your settings are, you requiring them to book into the session before they can receive that link, and they receive the email with the specific Zoom link. When they click on that link, it is going to be a unique URL. So they're not going to be able to pass that along to friends and family who don't necessarily have the correct package or anything like that. They would need to they would only be able to access that link once. And if you wanted to join the meeting, if you're another person, you would obviously have to buy a package and join the session that way. So I want to show you what that looks like on the schedule, or the self-service page, I should say. So when we go to log in here, all right, I'll go ahead and log in here. And then if I go to my schedule, just gonna load up. We'll then have this training that this client is currently booked for. And then you're gonna see here that we have this launch session button. So when you click on that launch session, it's going to open up a new page that's going to allow the client to be able to access that that Zoom meeting. So again, they'll be able to see that email, or they'll see that Zoom link in their email. they'll see the Zoom link in the session reminder as well. So with that session reminder that everyone's familiar with, they'll also have the Zoom meeting link there. And then, if the emails, maybe they're not receiving emails from you, or they just want to go to self-service, they'll be able to launch the session directly from this page. So you'll be able to do that, and it's going to look very similar if you have the settings where you don't necessarily need to book into a class to launch the session. You'll be able to launch the session in a very similar way that you see here. All right, so let me just see if there's anything else that we need to address here. I really think that's it. I know one of the things that we are looking to address as we are continuing to build upon the Zoom integration is the ability to add Zoom meetings in mass. So right now, when you're in the schedule, when you're creating your classes, you will need to add the Zoom meeting individually, but we are looking to add the ability to add those Zoom meetings in mass. So I know we have a bunch of questions that we want to take a look at. So we'll go ahead and I will pass it over to Mike, and we'll take a look at some of these questions.
Awesome, thanks, Greg. Great job. I'm going to start going through some questions here. I think the very first question that I'd like to answer is when will this be available? So this will be available early next week. We're in the process of the app submission approval for the Zoom Marketplace. So we're hoping that process goes relatively quick and smooth, and we can get this in your hands as quickly as possible. So we're aiming for early next week. We can communicate the exact ETA, but our goal is to start on Monday, rolling it out if the approval process with Zoom gets taken care of over the remaining week and weekend if necessary.
So we had another question here, Mike, about multiple people being able to use the same Zoom account.
So you can use the same Zoom account. The issue that you would potentially run into with the same Zoom account is scheduling concurrent meetings. So if two trainers need to schedule a meeting at, let's say, 10 a.m. using the same Zoom account, Zoom will prevent you from launching that meeting for both of those sessions. It can only be launched once, as you'll be prevented by Zoom.
Right, but in that same respect, if you have multiple users, you would be able to have concurrent meetings within that account. So you can have one account with multiple users, which will allow you to have meetings at the same time. So it's just if you had an account with one user only, would you run into that concurrence issue?
Correct. Okay.
Let's see here. So does starting the Zoom meeting open the Zoom platform?
Yes, starting the Zoom meeting will open the Zoom platform. So the client and or trainer, whomever is launching, will get the prompt of opening the Zoom platform to begin the meeting.
All right, and then we have, can you start the Zoom meeting from your cell phone?
Yes, Zoom is mobile friendly, and our self-service account as well is mobile friendly. So your clients can go to their sessions via mobile and launch the Zoom meeting from there. Trainers have access to the Zoom accounts directly through the Zoom mobile app, since they're the ones hosting the meeting, so they could also potentially launch it from there as well. As the trainer, clients will need to go to either the email they received or directly into self-service, as Greg showed.
Awesome. All right, so will we need a password for the Zoom meeting since the link is unique?
So the password is ultimately dependent on how the Zoom meeting is configured. I think by default, Zoom had made some security updates. So by default, Zoom passwords are enabled. However, there is a chance, being that the Zoom meeting is created via API, there is no password, but can be controlled by you whether or not you want to allow passwords for your Zoom meetings.
Is the unique URL specific if we select session booking required?
Is the Zoom?
Is the unique URL link specific if we select session booking required? I think that's just referring to when if you choose that clients have to book into the sessions, they will receive the email. That link will be unique always.
Correct.
In that case. Let's see here. So can you manage in settings when the Zoom link is actually sent out to clients? Because in this case, they like to send out the Zoom link within the cancellation period of our location.
So managing the Zoom settings directly through EZFacility, we don't have the preferences at the moment for you to manage the settings. It can be taken as good feedback in terms of being able to set the settings. I believe it is accessible via the API, so it is something that we can look into and consider being able to set on the EZFacility side when configuring the type of meetings getting created.
All right, so there's another question here. If someone does not have a laptop with a camera or a microphone, can they launch the meeting on the mobile device via MemberMe?
They cannot, at this time, it cannot be launched directly through the MemberMe app. However, a good workaround would be to add, if you're using the branded app, you can add a web tile to your app and allow you to add the self-service website to your mobile app in MemberMe, and or a branded app rather, excuse me. As far as MemberMe and the aggregate app, unfortunately, would not be able to add the web tile. So as of right now, that is not available as a native feature within the MemberMe app.
All right. Moving right along. How do we advertise to clients that the class is available by Zoom if they haven't registered for the class already?
My recommendation, this is just trying to get in front of your clients in terms of letting them know you'll be hosting classes or sessions live on Zoom. My recommendation would be to take advantage of email campaigns within EZFacility and being able to target those clients with potential upcoming classes and or just an announcement that's saying you will be hosting live classes and maybe directing them to your self-service portal, depending on your settings, whether or not it's required to log in, but still directing them to the self-service portal would be my recommendation. I hope I'm understanding the question correctly. Yeah. I believe it's just trying to target your audience and how to get them aware of you offering live classes. And if that is the case, that would be my recommendation, is to take advantage of the email campaigns within your EZFacility account or any third-party email marketing tool that you're using. Anything that could help you get in front of your clients, leveraging your social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, anything like that, that's announcing that you will be hosting classes or sessions of any sort through, an integration such as Zoom in this case.
All right. Do you think we would need a separate Zoom account for each location?
My recommendation is to at least have multiple users. It probably would be recommended to have a Zoom account for each location, but most importantly, having multiple users when authenticating using the owner account and ensuring that you have the ability to schedule sessions specific to your Zoom users in EZFacility.
Do classes automatically go into the video library when they're completed, or do you have to load them separately?
The classes, I don't believe the classes are going directly into the video library after it has been completed. If I'm not mistaken, Zoom will send you a copy of the recording for Zoom, of which can and should be able to add as a URL in the video library as the URL method, and can be added to the video library. I think just really quickly, I was skimming through some of the questions and I saw Vimeo Vimeo asked in terms of being able to upload pre-recorded classes, and you should also be able to add your Vimeo links in there as well, keeping in mind that the previews may not necessarily work for Vimeo and other pre-recorded videos such as YouTube and Facebook. So if you don't see a preview, doesn't necessarily mean that it's not accepting the video, it's just not outputting a preview of the video.
All right, good question. If there is a recurring session, like there's a session recurring weekly, does it create a separate Zoom link for each week as of right now?
So there won't do any mass creation as you're going through and using the occurrences option in EZFacility. However, as we do continue to our effort to expand on the features, and I'm not sure if it was highlighted, but when that ability is implemented, it will create a unique Zoom link for each of those sessions. So if you scheduled 5 sessions, let's say in advance, each of those sessions would have their own unique link. And the same does apply if you go into those 5 sessions manually to create or configure the Zoom meeting. It will create a unique Zoom meeting URL for each of those sessions.
All right, so something that's come up a lot, any worries with current security issues with Zoom?
From our perspective, we haven't run into any security issues. Obviously, there have been a lot of talks and articles and concerns with Zoom security. We haven't run into any specifically on our side. We actually use Zoom internally as well for our own meetings and our purpose for managing our interactions being that we're all working remotely. And so we haven't personally run into any issues, nor have we heard any issues from clients that have been using Zoom just outside of the integration. We have seen some security updates coming from Zoom in terms of being able to control the security preferences, defaulting things like passwords, being able to lock the meeting once you start it or at any time you prefer to, and I think giving you those controls ahead of time. But feel free to send us any additional questions around that or concerns. I would honestly recommend also reaching out to Zoom, as they would be best to answer their security concern questions. But from our experience using it, we have yet to run into any security issues.
All right, next question. What happens when someone books a session then cancels 2 hours before the session?
When somebody books into a session and cancels.
Yeah.
So yes, correct. If and I believe I saw a question in there regarding cancellation somewhere else as well. If once the client books and they do receive that email, they do have access to that URL. Greg, you might be able to speak a little bit in terms more in terms of when they click on the URL, if they've canceled the session, and kind of what happens from there.
Yeah. So that's a great question. So at the moment, they will still have that unique ID, that unique link that they can access even if they cancel 2 hours before. However, you should be able to see everyone who joins that Zoom meeting. So that's something that you may have to look into internally if you notice that someone cancels and then here they are on your your live stream that they've joined, and maybe charge them for that separately. Unfortunately, right now there's no way to disable that unique link or retract it in any way.
Yeah, and we are trying to look at ways, in terms of how this could be handled from the Zoom side. Zoom ultimately provides a URL that at that point is accessible. So there's a couple of additional things that, in terms of preferences, that may be able to be handled from the Zoom side if you want to look into. Additionally, like Greg said, if I would think about it, although the class is virtual, unless you're kind of opening it to the world and just allowing anybody to join those classes, I would think about it in no differently than if you were hosting a class at your facility and still being able to check attendance and leveraging EZFacility's platform to ensure that here are the list of actual scheduled clients, doing a quick check-in, and then starting the class from there to ensure that only those that are scheduled to be in the class are attending that session. And if I'm not mistaken, you can remove people from the Zoom meeting if they do not belong in the meeting.
Do we have to start the meeting from Easy, or can we start the meeting from Zoom?
So as the host of the meeting, you can start the meeting from Zoom. So whether it be on your desktop and you have the Zoom app opened, or on your mobile phone, or from the browser, as long as you are the host of that meeting and have access to that account, Zoom account, then you can absolutely start the meeting directly from Zoom.
All right. Just kind of clear. There's another question here about MemberMe Plus. Right now, you cannot launch it from MemberMe Plus, but as Mike said, we are looking into addressing that soon. Let me see here. We want it to be unique for Zoom only, so they can't use packages from gym memberships. Do you want to expand on that, Mike, about how maybe they can use a virtual membership or package?
So they want it to be.
Yeah, so they wanted to, so the question was, we want it to be unique for Zoom only. So they can't use the packages from their gym memberships that they purchased already.
I mean, it sounds like they're offering a new type of membership specific to these virtual classes. Is that right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, with that being said, it's I would take the approach of kind of how you've structured or set up your existing membership structure, but creating new memberships or packages around your virtual offerings. So maybe there's a virtual membership, or maybe there's a virtual package type that you would like to create, and setting that information up. And then from there, obviously, getting in front of your clients and letting them know that those are now available options for you via those similar channels that I mentioned earlier in terms of emails and social media platforms or your website and things like that. So I would recommend just creating new types of memberships, or even package plans that allow you to offer these new dedicated virtual packages or memberships.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of building off that, I feel like that's going to be super important as we continue after, this is all past us. Those virtual memberships, I think, are going to be a thing of the future for sure.
Yeah.
All right. If a client does not launch the meeting, they no-show, does that pull away from the package anyway? Or does the client need to communicate a cancellation?
The client would need to communicate a cancellation once they have booked into the meeting, and if they don't click the URL, it'll remain as scheduled in TMS, in EZFacility. So as far as the attendance works, other than clicking the link and auto marking the attendance, it would work the same way as if a client did no show, and you would go in and mark that proper attendance status for the client. If they, in this case, don't launch the meeting, would think about it the same way as if they didn't show up for the class, physically show up for a class you were hosting.
All right. The question was, will clients need a Zoom account as well?
Clients do not need a Zoom account. They will and may need to install Zoom. I believe you can launch it from the browser in the event they have difficulties installing Zoom, but they don't themselves need to actually create or register for a user account, as far as I'm aware of. They can just join the meeting.
Okay.
Sorry. However, I do believe there is an option within Zoom that you can specify whether or not your clients need to log in. So if you created a Zoom meeting within EZFacility and you change the preferences for that meeting, for example, to require a login, they will be asked to create a Zoom account at that point.
All right. So this question here we touched on, but I think it's important to just touch on it again for the time being. If a class that is 5 sessions on 5 consecutive days with one charge, can we set a recurring Zoom meeting for 5 consecutive days?
So at the moment, you can't automate the 5 Zoom meetings during the creation of those 5 reservations. So again, if you're using the occurrences to pre-schedule those 5 meetings in advance, it won't at the moment create those Zoom meetings for you automatically. However, you can go into each individual reservation that was created to add the or generate the meeting URL. We are planning to look more or to continue our effort into allowing for mass creating and editing and deleting, creating being obviously an important one. So we are definitely continuing our efforts into that.
All right, it looks like we have two more, and again, if we didn't get to yours specifically, we'll definitely reach out to you after the webinar today. If a member joins the Zoom meeting for a scheduled session, does it automatically mark them as attended?
So if they're joining the session using the, I believe the URL that's sent to the user, it will mark their attendance for the reservation. Greg, maybe you can highlight if they launch it directly through self-service, but the URL that's sent will mark attendance as it's expecting them to now join the meeting from that URL.
Yeah, Mike covered it. Both the URL from the email and from self-service, it's going to mark them as attended and take away from their sessions from their package. So it's again just going to work just like you would expect it to if they were actually walking into your facility instead of doing it from their living room.
Yeah.
All right. So here we have one more. Can you specify per class session booking requirement versus self-service login requirement? Do these admin settings apply to all Zoom classes? We have some free classes, paid linked classes. So yeah, I can, if you don't mind, Mike, I'll just clarify.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I apologize if I didn't clarify this earlier, but it is a per location setting right now for both of those. We are going to try to improve that so it could be a per reservation type or per class option, but those are per location. So if you are requiring session booking, then all classes need to follow that restriction. Same thing for self-service login. So if you're choosing self-service login for all of your classes until you change it, all they would need to do is log into self-service or create a self-service account in order to access those classes. But yeah, great piece of feedback, and it's definitely something that we are looking to improve in the near future. All right, so I think that's pretty much all the questions that we had. Again, if we didn't answer your question specifically, we will definitely reach out to you. I know we are super excited about this Zoom integration and how it can help you all stay connected to your clients and provide some normalcy in these challenging times that we're currently facing. So Mike, would you like to add anything?
Nothing additional to that. We will obviously be communicating when this goes live, so be on the lookout for that. And like Greg said, we're just really excited to get this in your hands and to really continue some improvements on it, and really look forward to this helping you all out.
All right. Thank you guys for attending today's webinar. Just be on the lookout for more notifications from us about when this will be live, as well as additional features that we will be rolling out in the near future. Thank you all.
Thanks.